everyone, welcome to Coach Dave Academy. My name is Suellio Almeida and we're gonna see my lap here with the P Cup, the Porsche Cup at Suzuka, and then we're gonna see what I think about and what is the best approach, you know, tips about corner entries and references. So let's go straight to the lap. All right, there you go. So this is 159.949. Now let's see corner by corner what we think about and the best approaches. So going into T1, 2, we should definitely always consider these two corners as just one, always. Because it's a very common thing to brake, turn, accelerate again, and then brake again for the second corner. But we should never do that because if you're doing it, you're just overslowing the car on the first one. So make sure you carry enough speed. I know it's tricky. You have to figure out the right speed so you don't end up going too wide and getting an off track on the left. So you need to brake. You see, as a reference here, I'm using... we have some things. We have the access road here. But we also have this little patch of dirt here, and that's really I'm using kind of those two references, but always beginning with the patch of dirt, and then the access road gives me extra spatial awareness. So and we're braking pretty hard initially, but then we're already turning in, right? We're not braking on a straight line. So because we are already turning in, I'm already releasing the brakes and already working on that transition, that smooth transition between braking and turning. And then that transition should last a long time, because here we are still braking, turning a little bit more, still braking, braking last, turning more, braking last, turning more, braking last, turning more. And then here at this point, we're just maintaining that fixed pressure that keeps the car turning more and more and more. That trail braking, that heavy trail braking. This car likes a lot of trail braking. So as you can see here, I'm braking like 15%, and turning it towards the apex. And I'm carrying that 15%. Look at that, all the way until when I transition from the brakes to the throttle, because this car likes it. You really want to get that weight properly on the front and keep the car turning. Also make sure to not abuse the fronts. As you can see, I'm turning just enough to feel that force feedback, and then I'm adding that extra 15% brakes on top of that heavy force feedback, really trying to keep the car on the optimal slip angle. If you turn a little bit too much, you end up understeering and losing lots of rotation. So here, as you can see, patient, really like trail braking all the way from that first corner here. So braking at the patch of dirt, then releasing the brakes, trail braking, 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 and then power quite aggressively, allowing the car flowing to the outside. Then immediately, as you can see, I'm not staying to the left because the next corner is to the left and we need to immediately bring the car to the right. So I'm already bringing the car here and then really trying to get the car on the limit here, basically touching the white line. And then from there, we want to turn in. We can use very well this curb here. Sometimes it's easy to miss, but if you miss it, it's not too bad because you end up having a little bit more grip. On right here at the white line, we have a little bit more mechanical grip. If you use the curb is off camber, so it pushes the car a little bit off. So it kind of compensates. You end up having two options, whether you're using the curb or not. In this lap, I did not use it. You see, and then at this point here, we want to stay with the car more or less to the left because we really need to prepare the next right-hander. Then we want to hug the inside. Power aggressively, and this is the trick. The next corner is to the right. Sorry, the next corner is to the left, but I am not going to over prepare because the next two corners are long, and when the corners are long, we don't need to prepare and open up too much. We can actually double apex them. So get back on power, and you see I'm opening up just a little bit. I'm just bringing the car a little bit, but not even like the center. Look, 3/4 to the left. And I'm already bringing the car well to this side. Again, always having that good trail braking, making the car rotate, and patience, really patience with the steering is required. Then again, kind of double apex. You see, I'm going wide and then back. In this case here, for this next corner, I want to prepare that a lot. So as you can see, I'm bringing the car pretty much to this side, and then I'm turning well here to have a good left-hander. This is the last corner of the S's, and you want to really bring it here. At this point, we are kind of like on a good compression, but up there, if you look up a little bit, you see right before the cones, we can actually not see the cones. You see? At this point, this is happening because we are falling on a crest. At that point, we will have no grip. So we need to really, you see, at this point here, we need to allow the car to flow to the outside, because if you force it to go more to the left, then it's already going. You're going to spin pretty easily. As you can see, this corner, I'm really like just oversteering very slightly, very, 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 very slightly to the left. And here you go. So now going to Degner, I'm braking. I'm not really having any braking reference. You can look at the 50 for spatial awareness, but not necessarily as a braking reference, because I'm braking already looking at the curb, already looking at the inside curb, and we want to really attack it pretty hard. Just make sure that the outside tire, the left tire, is still more or less touching the white line. So that means you can cut a lot. Look at that. Look at how much we're cutting here. You see, I'm actually a little bit past the white line. A little bit past, but that is borderline. This is really the limit until right before we get on off track. So make sure you kind of, for a safety measure, use the white line as a reference. You still want to kind of be using the white line. That's gonna make sure that you don't get on off track, or even a slow down there if you cut it too much. This car, of course, it's a boat. It likes cutting the curb. It's nothing bad is gonna happen because of it. Just make sure you allow the car to flow a little bit. You can use a little bit of the green, not too much, but right immediately we're already going to be braking on a straight line, going down to third. Here we have a lot of grip because this corner is slightly cambered, so make sure you can really make the car rotate very well towards the inside, and here you get back on power quite aggressively as well. All this extra grip is mid-corner, but then towards the exit, we don't have that much grip. It's flat. It's not necessarily a crest. We're not necessarily falling, but it has less grip than mid-corner. So I get back on power here. You see, this is the limit before getting on off track. Let me show you again. You will get on off track if you put the center line of the car on this second green here. And as you can see, I'm pretty much on the limit here. A little bit more would have been on off track. Then we go to the hairpin. And as you can see, I'm staying to the left pretty late here because I want to go around the little kink that we have right before the hairpin. So you see, I'm turning quite late because I want to kind of like do as much as I can to have the car kind of aligned to this white line here, but we cannot do that anyway. So even though I am preparing it, I'm just minimizing the fact that the car is kind of braking towards the inside. You see, I'm really braking towards the inside because if we try to open up, we will end up not having an efficient braking. So I prefer to have this tight line to the inside, especially because we have a lot of camber on the inside here, so I can focus on my braking efficiently. So braking all the way down to first gear and then hug the inside and then getting back on power and really having light hands, allowing the car to go all the way to the outside. If you keep forcing the car when you get back on power, it's very easy to spin. So every time you get back on power, you immediately release your hands. Boom. You see, you can see my steering wheel going down pretty quickly, going back to straight line. Then we go to the spoon. What I'm doing here is I'm looking. That's funny. I'm looking at this access road as a reference for braking and churning, but this is a reference for a formula car with lots of downforce. So you cannot use that as a reference in terms of being there and then braking. No, I'm looking at the access road, but I'm braking way before. Look at this here. That's when I'm starting to brake. My peak pressure is more or less before the access road, but I'm starting to brake quite early. So you can use the access road as a reference, but you have to look forward and you have to brake way before you actually get there. Otherwise, you're just going to carry too much speed. And then here we want to trail brake, make sure you're not abusing the fronts, and then you get back on power and allow the car to go quite wide here. Look at how wide I'm going. We could even go more. As you can see, we can put the center line of the car on the other green. This one, not this one. This one gives nothing, basically. You can really go all the way to, well, probably one tire width more to the right and not get on off track. And if that happens, just make sure that you come back to the inside of the track before the end of the curve, because this little green here also gives you an off track. So let me see where I'm going. I'm quite safe here. I'm still not using all of the track there. And then here, very patient trail braking. Look at my brakes. Patient, and then back on power also patiently. I ended up being a little bit optimistic here, and I had this moment of oversteer. Didn't lose a lot of time, probably like 2 to 3 hundredths of a second on the straight line. Same thing here, you get an off track if you put the center of the car on the second green. Then we go to 130R, is that how you say? I think yes. Again, no churn in reference. I just look at the curb and I kind of like instinctively churn in, aiming to hit the curb. We downshift to 5th. We want to hit the curb pretty well. We can probably use a little bit more than that. And then we want to get back on power aggressively to keep the car rotating. Be careful not to be too gentle on the power. Then we go for the next corner. Last corner. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to brake on like right in between 150 and 100. So we have the 150 here, we have the 100 there. Boom. Let me see if we can look at that. Look, I'm starting to brake here, but look at where my peak pressure is. My peak pressure is right in between. Now, why is that important? Why am I saying peak pressure? Because that's where I put my braking references. I think about the peak pressure. Because these cars, sometimes we don't smash the brakes too quick. Sometimes we kind of squeeze the brakes, thinking about how slow the suspension compresses. And I end up, look at how much my car travels from the beginning of the braking here all the way to the peak pressure. That's a lot. That's 25, 30 meters that my car is traveling between initial brake and peak pressure. So make sure you know where your braking reference is, because if it's the peak pressure, then you're starting to brake a little bit earlier. If it's the beginning of the braking, then your references should be much lower. much further behind. And really, you see there's a little kink here. Make sure you don't get too shocked by the kink. You want to brake and you want to stay there, and the turning point should be almost touching the white line here. So as you can see, I'm braking and then I'm just slightly kind of following the kink, but mostly you want to kind of almost go straight, and the kink, like at this point here, you see that my car is pointing slightly to the inside, but then the kink meets my car again, and that's my turning point. We want to really use half of the car on top of the curb here, so using a good bit of the green. And be careful, because here the exit is a lot more important than anything else. So I'm staying here. As you can see, my change of direction is not necessarily to the middle. It's much more to the right. So I'm changing direction. I want to attack this curb and really get back on power as soon as we attack the curb. Look at that. As soon as I hit the curb, my throttle goes up. Boom. Because I want to lift the front and minimize the impact against the curb. Then as soon as we kind of settle from the curb hit, we kind of go back to 100%. And here, just make sure you don't force the car too much to the right. I know this feels like, okay, the lap is over, but it's very easy to spin here. All you need to do is have super light hands, get back on power, and allow the car to flow outwards if it wants to. It's very important to communicate with the car and see what the car wants, what the car can do. Because if you just want to stay on the inside to cut a little bit of lap time, you end up spinning or just getting over shear, scrubbing the tires, and losing exit speed. So that is the first lap guide for the pickup. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you next week. Bye.